Hi everybody, I'm the SolidWorks nerd, back from a brief hiatus. I know it's been a while, but I have a special treat to make it up to you guys. So if you already read the title of the video, then you know that we're going to be making Tracer's goggles, and here I have a pretty good picture that we can work off of. And I'm not even going to throw it into a sketch picture, we're just going to do it by eye. So we're going to start by opening up a new part. Okay, and going back to our picture, if you can notice that how the light reflects off of Tracer's goggles, you see how the light pulls up on one section of the goggles. That suggests to me that the shape of the glass is a sphere. It's spherical. So that's what we're going to base it off of. We're going to revolve a sphere and cut away from it to make the shape. Also, I'm a fan of origin-centric parts, so we're gonna run into a little bit of issues if we try and revolve our sphere from one of the primary planes, but I'll show you how we can get around that. But for now, I'm just gonna boot up a sketch on the top plane, and I'm just gonna throw a piece of construction geometry. And we don't have to fully define, but we should make sure that it's horizontal. And just for the OCD folk out there, I'm gonna make it vertical, so it's at least centered. And we're gonna dimension it from the origin, just like that. And I see I have it in millimeters, but it should be the same difference. We're gonna dimension it from the origin, and the distance will be the radius of the sphere. So I'm not sure how aggressive the curvature of our goggles are going to be, but I'm going to put 100. See what that gives me. So as you can see, that this is not a sphere, but we're going to be getting there. So now I'm going to boot up a new plane. So I can do that by holding Control and dragging the plane out. That will give us a new plane. But instead of distance, I'm going to select the front plane where I want it to be parallel, and we want it to contain this line. Input is incomplete. Oh, that's fine. Oh, because silly me, it actually replaced my front plane with line. So we have that, and we want our second reference parallel. We want our second reference to be the line. There we go, fully defined. Isn't that nice? And we can just go ahead and sketch on it. Alright, sweet. So at this point, we can hide our sketch. And actually, I should have put a global variable on that line. Whoops. Well, that's fine. We can do that afterwards. So I'm just gonna do that. Give us a vertical line, select our midpoint, and made it to the origin with a coincident relation. So to complete it, we're going to throw down a 3-point arc. And there we go. Remember, our radius of curvature is 100, so this actually has to be 200. Okay, so just to properly staple this down, we also need a tangent relationship to, whoops, just need a tangent relationship to that. There we go. We can close out of the sketch, and I'm gonna hide that plane away as well as that. Alright, we have something to revolve. Cool. Now you might think I'm going to go and boot up the revolve tool in the features, but we're going to do this as a surface, and I'll show you why. So revolve surface, select plane. Well, I'm going to select a sketch because it already exists, and axis of revolution. We'll just do that. All right, that's nice. We got our sphere, but it's too much sphere actually. So we only need half of it, and the other half. And actually, when you do that, if we can show the origin like that, you could see the origin is right on the center of that half sphere, which is what we want in order to make this part relatively origin centric. It'll make 3D printing a lot easier if you send it to Cura software, that it's just not hanging some weird place in space. That's fine. Alright, what now? Alright, let's go to our front plane. We're going to boot up a sketch there again. And this is where we're going to take the shape of Tracer's goggles. So here comes the fun part. I'm just going to go over here, have a picture of Tracer there. Alright, very cool. So for this we're going to use a spline. And moreover, since I'm going to assume that her goggles are symmetric. Even though when you watch the animations, when Tracer makes facial expressions, the goggles will actually bend and shift, but that's not going to be possible if you want to 3D print this for a cosplay or something like that. I'm going to boot up a style spline. You can do this with a regular spline too, but style splines I find give me a lot more control, even though they're a lot harder to define than good old regular splines. But if you just have experience with them, I find that they'll just give you a lot more precision for when you do your things. So yeah, to define its position, I'm just gonna get these two endpoints. I'm gonna make this vertical. I'm also going to select the midpoint of this line, and I'm going to mate it to the origin. Alright, her goggles are looking kind of funky on the right over here, but we'll fix that. And if you can see on the left side over here, her goggles actually smoothly blend onto the other side, and you can see that very well. Well, when you want something to blend into the other side, you want to make sure that they're at the very least tangentially related to each other. So with a style spline, all you have to do is make the closest link to the middle of the sketch, because we're gonna mirror this. We want this to be horizontal, and I'm selecting everything. There we go, horizontal, and as well as this, horizontal. Okay, now that they're parallel with each other, we can take this and kind of mess around with it. I'm gonna put that over there. I'm gonna make this more aggressive. And it's looking a little narrow. Pull it out like this. If you have a hard time visualizing this, you can actually just mirror everything over. And I believe you can do it by selecting the geometry. Well, actually, this is not going to work. Maybe it'll work. The idea is you can mirror things very quickly by selecting geometry and one piece of construction geometry. If you do that and you hit the Mirror Entities tool, SolidWorks knows that you want to mirror about that piece of construction geometry, but it might get a little bit confused since I have those other pieces of geometry, and it's smart. Oh, all right, very good. Now we can more easily visualize how the frontal shape of her goggles are. So it's looking pretty close, I'd say. You're not the best artist, but it's looking pretty close. So gonna get out of the sketch. And you notice I left it under define. I could go and define every one of these lines, but since I may want to tweak it later, I don't want to be changing numbers. I just want to be dragging points. So I'm just going to leave it like this. So what we want to do now is go into surfaces, and we want a surface trim. Trim tool. For our trim tool, we will select our sketch, and now you can either choose remove selection and pick this garbage area, or you can put keep selection and pick the area that we want. I'm just going to do keep and pick the middle. And you can just leave those alone. Just hit OK. Oh, and there we go. We're getting pretty close. And as you may notice, this is a surface, which means you can't 3D print it yet. And I'll get to why I did that in a second. And let's look back at our goggles. So, looking at our goggles over here, it looks to me it has a hard edge that comes from out of her face and then straight back down, which leads me to believe that the cross section of this edge part is a rectangle. So I say we should sweep along this edge here. We'll sweep along this edge with a rectangle. Let's see how that turns out. Now, when you want to sweep, you need a profile and a path. And just because I feel like it, you could do this in any order. I'm just going to do the path first. And the nice thing what we can do is we can boot up a 3D sketch. Ooh, I'm getting fancy now. We have a 3D sketch. And what we're going to do is pick these two edges, so 1 and 2, because remember they were mirrored, so there was a break in our line there. So pick both of them, hit convert entities. Alright, we have our path, and the nice thing is if we want to tweak our radius of curvature, this path will follow. So there's our path. That's it. Simple. Alright, and I guess the reason why I wanted to do that first is now we can throw down our plane to be perpendicular to our path. And an easy way to do that is you boot up a plane. Our first reference is going to be a point. It could be this one, but I'm just going to pick this top one. Pick a point and the path. And you see we get our plane that is perfectly perpendicular to the path. I actually could have done this. I could have done this on the right plane, but I find this is going to be a little bit more robust in case I change it to not be symmetrical for some odd reason. But anyway, here's our plane. We're going to sketch on it, and we already said it's going to be a rectangle. That looks just about right. It's going to be a little bit of trial and error. Let's do 8, just making a guess here. And I know it's going to be not that midpoint that I wanted to mention, but that line, actually, let's do a little bit thicker. Let's do it 5 millimeters. Okay, awesome. We have our now we have our profile. And if you wanted to like round it out, you could do it here, but I'd recommend against it. The thing is, sweeps are one of the most computationally expensive procedures you can do in SolidWorks. So in the interest of performance, I just want to give it the simplest path to sweep around. And then if I want to apply fillets, I will do that after using the fillet tool in the features over here. Anyway, I'll stop rambling. Let's get our path going. Profile. Path. And it seems we got lucky here. Sometimes when you make these intricate 3D paths, SolidWorks doesn't like to sweep the rectangle, sweep the profile along it. Sometimes it won't even do it, and sometimes it'll look really, really weird, like it'll be wiggling all over the place. If that happens, I would have gone to options. Oh, it looks like it already put it for me. Oh, neat. Yeah, put minimum twist for profile twist. But yeah, this is looking pretty good. I'm going to accept the feature, and looks like we're getting pretty close. Looks like I could make it a tad bit thicker, actually, so I'm going to boost up that 8 to maybe a 12. Go back in here, not that one, that one. I'm going to edit our sketch. I'm going to boost that up to 12. And just for consistency, let's do 6. Alright, that's looking much better, actually. Awesome. So you could see we're almost done. We're almost done over here. I'm gonna go work on these little side, I guess, foamy things. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm modeling it. Okay, so I keep jutting this window around. Yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna split this solid body here and here. Yeah, let's try that. Okay, so let's boot up a sketch in our front plane. Sketch, and I'm gonna anticipate a mirror. So there's our center line, and here, whoops, you need to select the line itself and not its midpoint. Kind of like that. And then you can select everything again, do the same old trick. There we go. Mirror entities. I'm not even going to bother defining this because I think I'm going to be playing around with it. So, let's go to split. I always can't find this one, so I always have to look for it in commands. There we go. We have our trim tool. And selected bodies, we don't want to touch this inner portion, so selected bodies, we're going to do the sweep. Cut bodies. So now we have to specify what bodies to cut away. Well, not cut away, but just to cut. So I'm going to select those two areas there and make sure that consume cut bodies is not enabled. We don't want to consume those. Alright, that looks pretty good. And now to adjust the size of it. And thinking about it, there are a couple ways we can do it. Let me see. I'm going to try going to mold tools and let's try the scale option. Scale it about its centroid by a few % and see how that looks like. If I can find it. There we go, scale. Alright, scale parameters. At the centroid, you want uniform scaling. Let's see how that looks. Let's scale it by 10%, which is inputted as 1.1. That looks a little goofy, so I'm gonna try and do 5%. 1.05. Let me see. Alright, that's looking a lot better, and you shouldn't worry about these overlapping edges because in the end, we're gonna merge all of this together. And it'll make one continuous piece. Alright, I'm satisfied with that. So I'm going to perform the same thing on this one too. Scale by 1.05, box, this body, scale. Hooray, there we go. And looking back on it, if you look at really closely at the black foamy part, it seems to have a small chamfer, so I'm going to apply one. And this is where we can, this is the perfect opportunity to apply our chamfer because it won't propagate all the way through. So we're going to go to Features, Fillets, Chamfer. Alright, there we go. But we want it to be a little more aggressive than that. I'm going to do 2 millimeters. Multiple bodies. So we're going to have to do this in 2 different features. No problem. Rinse and repeat. And that's looking excellent. Really like the look of that. And if you wanted to apply a fillet just to make this a little smoother, you can do that also. Fillet. I believe you can. Oops, not the face fillet. Let's just do a regular fillet. We'll do it along the edge and see how it propagates along tangent edges. Alright. I might make the fillet a little bit bigger. It's not going to allow me with the multiple bodies again. I think with 2 should be pretty good. Alright. And once more for the other body. And I could combine all the bodies and do it in one big thing, but I think it's going to be a lot easier to differentiate the chamfer from the fillet. And click to apply. Alright, we're almost done. The only thing left is that this is still the surface body, and there's a simple way to do that. Thicken. Might have been yelling at me to do this all along, but here it is. Let's try 1 millimeter. Oh, no surface selected. Silly me. Alright, there we go. And it's merged it all into one solid body. So now you can even go into appearances, and we can dab some color. So let's go ahead and do that. See if they have like an orange glass or something. That would be a little too convenient. That brown glass looks pretty close. What else? Alright, brown glass it is. And you could even, whoops, that didn't do anything. Appearances, part. Gloss, brown. Okay. There, but we've done a little bit too much. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to this thicken, edit feature, uncheck merge result. We'll apply some colors. I mean, at this point, it all really doesn't matter at this point. So we know that these foamy things will be black. Body, black. And then the edge will be white. Probably not Reaper's favorite thing to say, but let's do white plastic. See if we can find that. High gloss? Okay, cool. There we go. There you have it. But there you go. And I hope you like this return, this comeback from me. And I will see you in another video.